Okay, so this is where we are. So we kind of built this in class already, but I'm just making another video for you just in case you kind of forget and you need to add extra boxes or whatever. So let's just go to our work.html page. It should be selected here. And what I want to do is I want to go in and I want to come inside my wrapper here. So let's go to our wrapper inside the work page. And we're going to build out those boxes. And this is pretty much starts off like the box model. But one thing that I want to do is in my style sheet, I want you to come up the wrapper. And we're going to actually change the max width from 960 pixels to 1100 pixels. That's going to make this look a lot better. Alright, so let's come over to inside our wrapper. And let's create a div ID. And we're going to call this portfolio content. No spaces. And I'll just take that div and bring it down here. Just like that. Something's caught in my throat here. And let's just write a comment and let's just say, end of portfolio div. Command question mark. And it's a great idea to stay organized. That's one thing you should constantly want to do here. So now what I want to do is I want to come in this portfolio content div, and I'll just come down to the bottom of my CSS. And what I want to do is I actually want to create a div here. This is going to indicate my first box. So I'm going to say div ID equals, and I'm just going to call this first, since it's going to be my first box. Now what we're doing, we are creating these boxes in order to create our divs that we can click on. These are going to represent the projects themselves. And I'm just doing 4. You can add way more if you like. Alright, and that's all we need. I don't actually need any content at this point. So I'm going to leave it just like that. Now let's come over to our CSS. And let's write a comment in here. We got one style sheet for all these pages. We'll end up having almost 8 pages. Some of you might have more. So it's a good idea to separate this in the CSS so we kind of know what we're dealing with. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and I'm going to say, hashtag first. And this is the standard box model. Let's go in and give this a width. And I'm just going to say 1100 pixels. So the whole width that we're allowed to get. Remember, you can't exceed 1100 pixels now. We changed it from 960. So 960 is no longer our number. 1100 is. And let's give this a height of something like, I'm going to say 200 pixels. And we know that we need to give this thing a background color. And pick whatever color you like. Really does not matter at this point. And we're good. We're off to a great start. So what I want to do now is save this in live preview. Make sure that you save both of your files. You have to do it. And voila, there's my box. But I do have an issue. The issue is that part of my box is inside my header. And the reason is that the header is fixed. So that means I have to push my box down. And the easy way to do this is by triggering this div here, which is portfolio div. So if I say hashtag portfolio content, I can give this a margin top. Now my header is 120 pixels, so that means that I do need to go in and fix this. So I would say 135 pixels. So what that is, it gets it past the header, and it also gives me about 15 pixels of space there. And what I forgot to do, I think I said it but I didn't do it, is I need to go in. We got one style sheet, so I need to go in and write a comment here. So let me come in and say, since this is my work page, we'll say, work page styles. Now let's hit Command ? So I know that this is my work page styles here. So I have this broken down. Let me hit save and we should be in business here. So we got our first box. Perfect. Now what I want to do is I want to create another box. So let's come over here, write a comment, end of first div. Command ? Great. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to say div ID equals, now let's call this second. This is going to be my second box. Makes sense. So let's come in and say hashtag second. Now on that diagram, I don't have it right here in front of me, but I had them side by side, right? So two divs side by side, we know that that doesn't happen naturally, and that's something that we actually have to do. So let's go in and just create our third div also. So let's just come in and say div ID equals third. So we can do this all at once. So second div and the third div. Now you can go in and write your comments, so I'll write them with you. End of second div, right? Command ? Then I can also say end of third div. Command ? And we got that set up. So let's come back to our hashtag second, and let me put my curly brackets. What I can do now is, I know I want these boxes to be side by side, and as I said, it doesn't happen naturally. Now how much space do I have that I can work with? Now if this is in class, of course you guys would answer, hopefully. Sometimes you don't. But I know I got 1100 pixels to work with, right? So what I'm going to do is, let's say I want those side by side. So I need these to be sort of under. I want them to be, twice the size here, so divide it. So a good width for this is probably 540 pixels. And then let's do hashtag third. Now let's give this a width. Let's do 540 pixels. Now you're probably asking me, how did I come up with that number? So do some math. What's 540 plus 540? That's most likely 1080 if you guys are math wizards, which you don't have to be. So how much space can I have between them? I know that I want space in between. So 540, so I can have 20 pixels of space in between my boxes here, which works perfectly. So 5, 10, 1080. Alright, and then let's give this a height. And I'll do something like 250. And also give this one a height. Let's say 250 pixels. Alright. And then let me give these both a wonderful background color of something like biscuit. I don't even know if that's how you pronounce it, but anyway. And then let's give this a background color of something else that's different. Coral. Perfect. Okay. Perfecto. Now let's hit save. Now, what's wrong here? The problem is that they're not side by side, and we do have another problem. We don't have enough space. We'll fix that later. Don't worry about that right now. But I do want to make some changes here. Now, one thing that I do want to do is I also want to add margin. Oh, my email's going crazy. I want to add margin on the top of this. Wow, it really is. I want to add margin on top of this second box. So if I go to my second, let's go in and say, and I forgot a semicolon. See, that's what happens. A lot of those tutorials, they're scripted. This isn't scripted. I'm just doing it by hand here. So you do see me sort of make mistakes. And that's fine. You'll make mistakes, but you do have to find out where the mistakes are taking place. So let's go in and add a margin of top, and then let's say 15 pixels. That seems perfect. Great. So let's go in, and you could go in and add a margin top right now of 15 pixels also. You can add those in. That works perfectly. So we do know that those are spaced out on the top. And I'm kind of zooming by these videos because you kind of should understand the box model by now and how this works. You literally just give these things a width, a height, and a background color for now. The background color will change eventually, but it's good now. So you should know how to actually do this. So if I want these side by side, what do we use? We use what we call a float. And that's what I want to do. So let's say on the first box model video, I showed you how to take, we floated everything to the left and it got us this 3 by 3 in a row column. Well, technically, let's say that if I want this one, the second div on the left hand side, and then the third div on the right hand side. Well, guess what I can do? I can tell the second div to float to the left. That's where I want it to go. Then I'll tell the second div, well, the third div, excuse me, to float to the right. And if I hit save, voila, it works perfectly. Beautiful. All right, and let's create one more box. Then we will end this video, but also troubleshoot what we have, and then we'll move on to the next thing. All right. So what I want to do now at this point is I want to go in and I want to create a fourth div. So let's go in and say div ID equals, and we'll call this fourth. Perfect. And let's come over to our CSS and say hashtag fourth. And what do we need? Of course we need a width. And I'm going to do 1100 pixels. I'm going to keep it the same sort of dimensions as my first div that's up here. So width of 1100 and a height of 200. Alright, then let's just give it a background color, whatever you want. Cornflower blue. Perfect. And I'll hit save here. Alright. Now, we're going to run into issues, right? You guys should know this by now. You should know once you float something, there's a problem. Look what the problem is. Ran into the problem of the float is under our two boxes here. So whenever you float something, you do run into these issues. So what I need to actually do is you have to tell whatever comes after the float, you need to tell it to clear it, which is clear, and you'll say both. Alright. Now remember we added margin, so let's go in and add a margin to this. Let's say margin top 15 pixels. Now, two things you'll recognize. First is, yes, it did clear past the float, so it is in position, but it did not listen to my margin. And we'll take a look here. So, it cleared the float, but it did not listen to my margin, so I do need to fix that. How do you do it? You give it the display tag. So I'll say display, and we'll say inline block. And what that does is it allows this to go in and fix this. So it goes in and voila. Now, one more issue and then I'll end this video. We need more space. And a lot of you are asking me this question, and I tell you, if you don't have enough space, that means there is a height issue as far as that. So whatever is controlling all of these divs, we need to fix the height on here. And what is controlling which div is controlling all of them? We grouped them. And look at what we got. We got the portfolio content div. So I need to add more height to it. So whenever that happens, I need to go into the portfolio content div and I need to add a height to this. So let me go in and say height, and I'm going to do 800 pixels because I know it fits. Now, if you have more, you're going to have to increase the height. You'll have to do like 1500, 1000. Sometimes you guys try to do, 100% or auto, and it works a lot of times. But on things that have, when you have things with fixed positioning, sometimes it will not listen. It doesn't take into account the objects that are fixed, which tends to cause issues. So just giving it the actual pixel value is helpful here. And there we go. And that wraps up this video. So on the next one, what we'll do, we'll put text on these, and then we'll create our portfolio work pages, and we will be able to then click on these where they jump to those pages. So we still got a little bit of work to do on this page, but at least we have it blocked out now. So that's the end of this video.